Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Um, First, I would want you to introduce yourself for our audience. Can you tell us something about yourself?
I'm Ria, and I am 13 and I live in England.
Okay. Um Ria, it is good to have you on the podcast. The topic I have decided that we'll speak on is the importance of questioning. Okay.
Okay.
So first, I'll try and lay a context that I see from my point of view. Uh, as a child, was never happy with the given answers and was constantly seeking better answers, better quality of answers. So I moved from my parents to my friends, from my friends to books, and from books to movies, different kinds of study, knowledge, uh, and that kind of kept me satisfied for a little while. But every now and then I would find that it had not satisfied my urge to know more about any particular subject, or else sometimes my experience in life would prove that there were other ways of looking at it. So, my question to you, at an age where you are, where the world tells you what to do, whether it is parents, whether it is friends, peer pressure, uh, advertising, films, everybody decides what you have to think. So, how do you look at this aspect of questioning? Do you mind it? Do you like it? What is your point of view?
Are you asking what is? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
The idea is that if you're told, okay, do this in this manner, you have to look like this, or you have to eat like this, you have to walk like this, you have to study like this, you have to behave like this, or you are in UK, so you have to behave like all other citizens of UK have to, or anything. Right or wrong is not the point I'm making right now.
Yeah.
My point is there is a set pattern to how people expect you to behave or be. Now, internally, sometimes we are okay with some things we are definitely not okay with. So, how do you look at those questions? Do they arise in you? Do they not matter to you? What is it? What does questioning mean to you?
So it's kind of if I'm told to do something, or if I'm asked to, if generally when if I go to school or something, we are expected to behave, we're expected to follow a set of rules. For example, don't like shout out. We have to put our hand up in the classroom if we want to answer a question, and etc. So those are all quite small things. So I do follow them, and because if I think about it, if I differ from them, if I do shout out, it doesn't really benefit me, or nor does it benefit anyone else. It just doesn't benefit any which way. So still, it doesn't. I just don't do it because it doesn't sit right with me. So small things like those, I won't do it. But sometimes if it's like if someone else is, for example, we in our school we have like this woods area where in the summer, or like when it is dry, we are allowed to go through it. So I only got to know that while me and my friends were in the woods, it was on the second half of my school term, my first school term this year. I'm in year 8, and me and my friends were in the woods, walking around, playing, running, and we saw this teacher in the woods. And then we were wondering why the teacher was there, but the teacher didn't see us. We just kept on walking, and then we saw another student who was heading back, and we asked them if everything was okay. Why are they heading back? And because it was still quite early on in our break time, and they said they got told off by the teacher. So then that's when we started to get a little bit like scared and a little bit like panicked as such, because we didn't want to get told off. So we were kind of walk back because we didn't want to get caught or anything. and but on our way back we saw some teachers, so we just had to run. So what I mean by that is I would rather, so when I didn't intentionally accidentally break the rules as such, I if I wanted, if a teacher was there and I unintentionally broken the rules, I would rather avoid the teacher and try to get back safely, knowing I had unintentionally broken the rules. Whereas if I did intentionally break the rules, I would still not be so like wanting to tell a teacher unless I say that I don't know how to put it, but I haven't ever intentionally broken the rule of going into the woods. I've only done it unintentionally. So I can't really answer that question that I brought up to myself, but I could say that I would intentionally not try to find the teacher and tell them that I have just been in the woods.
Okay. So are you saying there are two ways of looking at questions? One are the relevant questions that matter to us, and the other are questions that may that are put in a set pattern that everybody else tells us that you are allowed to ask, or um, a set pattern that you're allowed to adhere to. So are you making a demarcation between the two? Are you saying both are different?
Yeah, because it's like what we want to do is different from what others want to do. And it's it is quite different because one person may want to, for example, get ice cream, or someone else may want to um get, I don't know, salad or something. Whereas the parents or like the person who's like with the two children may say, no, we should go get ice cream, which is what the other child wants. So it's kind of also two against one. But then you'll have to follow them because they won. They get them. There are more people on their side than your side, so you have to go get ice cream instead of salad. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a very good example that you gave. So are we saying that we need to uh, go to the part of the mind where we understand the situation much better than the superficial question that arises? So if I'll try and clarify. So if it is the example of the ice cream versus the salad, if you are quiet enough and you realize that it does not matter this way or that way, at some point I'll get both. If not today, some other day. You try and understand what the parent or the custodian, maybe a teacher or a senior friend, is trying to make. You say, okay, I'll make them happy for now. So I need not question everything that is being told. Sometimes it's okay to follow what is being said. Are you saying that that's the point of the mind that we should operate from?
Could you please go further on the question?
Um, So, for example, on the superficial aspect of the example that you gave, there is a clash. The clash is whether you will get to eat ice cream, and if you are not getting to eat ice cream and you are being forced to eat a salad, that's not what you want to have at that point of time, for example. So, on the superficial level, it's sorted that you don't want it or you want it. But I'm saying when you gave the example of, we will have to go to both counters separately, or we may have a certain problem doing both at this time itself. So you have gone beyond the question. You come to a part of the mind that is analyzing the situation for whatever it is at that point of time, rather than going with what your mood is. Mood is there. You have accepted that my mood is not to have salad.
Yeah.
But you're saying, okay, beyond that, if even if today I have salad, it's not really going to do much of harm. Today I'll just manage with this. Some other time I may have ice cream. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
So my question is, if now we were to look at these three, rather two parts of the mind. Uh, one is this immediate question that arises in our mind about a subject. So, for example, if you are being taught, uh, like one of the things that we learn over a period of time, that history is written by the winners. So they kind of color it in a manner where the losers seem that they are not good enough, or they were not the right people, and we are the right people. So now as a subject, when you're reading it and you get information from other sources, which clashes with the information that you got. Has it happened to you ever that you got two different sources of information about things and you have to think, okay, which one of them could seem right?
Um, that doesn't really happen in real life situations to me, but in like things like tests or stuff, questions that you've just asked come up as in something could be, if I'm in an English test, it could be which of this sentence is correct, like with quotation marks, the correct use of quotation marks. So, in that sense, I would have to decide which one is correct. But I haven't really had to in an opinionated way.
Okay, so let me clarify this in real life. So, for example, um, obviously you have friends your age who sometimes give you information that your parents haven't given you about certain things because they care for you or they're trying to wait for a while till you get to a point where you will understand it properly. Now, at that point of time, uh, you know that the information clashes there. Your parents never mentioned some subject. It could be anything. Um, and your friends have given you this information. And if you went back and asked your parents, and maybe they still, I'm now creating a hypothetical situation. Maybe they still do not want you to know, and they'll brush it off saying, no, it's not important. We'll talk about this later. Now, the question is real time. It happens to all of us at different points of time. As a parent, sometimes I have to do things. What I try and do with my daughter is I tell her that, you know what, right now I am not able to frame it in a way that you will understand. So we'll wait for you to grow up a little so that I can tell you about this.
Yeah.
Um, and thankfully, she seems to accept it. But what if a person wants to question it further? Is it a good thing or it's a bad thing?
Um, I think that they should, because if you get to know about it, and if you get to know about it more, the fuller meaning of it later on, then you should not question it. Whereas if you rush, you could also get the wrong. Why would you rush and get maybe a wrong or different meaning, which is incorrect, when you just have to wait maybe just a little bit longer to get the correct meaning with no effort?
Okay, so my question to you is how does one satiate one's curiosity while it is there? How do you arrive at the questions that these are the questions that I can manage with later also, and some that I really need to know now? How do you choose a question that you have to stay with?
So like, I do you mean like a question I have to stay with myself in order to wait?
Yeah, because suppose the parent or the peer or somebody is not giving you the answer. So obviously there is a gap inside because you want to know, but you are not getting the answer right now. So how do you choose whether this question can be let go for now?
Um, well, you just have to do other things to forget about it until maybe the parent who wants to explain it to you again brings it up. So you could just carry on with whatever you're doing, just go on your daily day, what you do during days and things like that. So just carrying on with life, I guess, until the parent would say, okay, I'll frame this better for you now.
Okay, I know at least of one friend of my daughter's who is quite curious and may not wait as you wisely put it. So now, if you were to have a conversation with a person who's your peer or in your age group, more or less, and they have this tendency, how would you how would you ask them to make their peace with this curiosity? They are going to say, "I need to know. Come on, what's the big deal?"
Um, I would probably, I would explain it how I explained it to you before, that if you wait a little longer, you could get the fuller meaning. Why rush when you could get a different meaning out of what you find, whereas with no effort at all. So when you rush, you are putting in extra effort to find a meaning that may not be correct. Whereas when you're waiting, you don't have to put any effort into waiting for someone to just tell you.
Yeah. Um, you, when it comes to you particularly, what are the questions um, that your mind uh, tries to grasp most of the time? What is the tendency? What kind of questions? Are you okay to sharing any of them?
Yeah, I have to think about it. Sometimes I guess Mama's telling me about sometimes what happened before I was born and things like that. She says, "Oh, I'll wait until you're older and then I'll tell you about all this." So I won't try and call her mom or call her sister, ask her about this. I'll just wait about it and try and won't say anything about it because it's at the end of the day, it's also her privacy that she may only want to share with me when I'm older and maybe when I understand it better.
Okay, so I want to just widen it from the um, family circle and friend circle. There are questions what are called existential questions. Sometimes where you're wondering, okay, where do we come from? What is life about? Or um, even stuff like how why does the earth rotate in a certain manner and why not another manner? Is there something called destiny or not? Are there any of those questions ever in your mind? And if they are, what do you think about them?
Um, Sometimes when I do my RE religious education work or something, we talk about we do a lot of some Bible readings at school, and we talk about whether this is what is good, or like for example, um, if I think yeah, so if if someone in the Bible, there are lots of examples, but if there's someone in the Bible and if they were made to do something, was that like their destiny? So when I'm writing my paragraphs or if I'm writing an explanation about it, um the question doesn't usually involve the word destiny. I usually write it in in what I'm trying to explain it. So when I'm doing it, I try to think about how maybe destiny was a huge thing, maybe like long time ago, like during BC and long thousands, lots a long time ago, if it was more of a huge like a really big thing, whereas now it's come down very like subtle, and it's like only talked about, sometimes it's talked about jokingly, whereas back then it could be talked about extremely seriously, and if you joked about it, it could be like a really bad punishment. So I do think about that, but not like all the time, just sometimes.
Okay, so practically, let me try to think of something.